Today we're going to assemble a natural barnwood timber frame bed. This happens to be a queen bed. We're here in our showroom. First thing we got to do is identify the parts. We obviously have our headboard and our footboard, and I've got my two side rails sitting on the floor. They are interchangeable. It doesn't matter which way they go, except for the fact that this cleat that's attached to the side rail needs to be down, because that's going to be actually supporting the bed slats. Other parts to this bed include the 3 slats. Then we have our 8 lag screws, which we're going to screw through the bed post and catch the side rail and pull the side rail into the mortise. Other parts we have also are plugs. That'll be our last step. After we lag screw the bed together, we're going to hammer these plugs into the holes to hide the lags. And then along the way, after the rails are attached and we set the bed slats down on the cleats, we're going to take these 2.5-inch wood screws. These are Phillips, so you'll need a Phillips bit. And we're going to screw the slats into the cleats so they stay put and don't move on us. We need to get behind the bed or all around the headboard and the footboard to access running the lag screw through the bed post. But first we're going to tell you what, we're going to do this as if one person was setting this bed up by themselves. So I'm going to push. We're going to use the wall as our support. So our headboard is up against the wall. I'm going to just set a side rail in there. I'm going to set the other one in as well. We'll slide our footboard up to our rail. And I'm just going to slide that in like so. There we go. So now we're fit. I'm going to eyeball kind of the footboard to the headboard and make sure it looks visually relatively square, and it does to me. So now we're ready to take our lag screws and go ahead, lag screw them together. So I'm using a 9/16 deep socket, and I've got a socket adapter. This is something you could pick up at the home improvement stores, attached to a cordless drill. If you don't have a cordless drill, you can do it all by hand. But what we're going to do is we're going to drive these in about 75% of the way, and then we're going to finish them up by hand with a socket wrench. You want to make sure your cordless drill is on the slow speed. So inside this hole, there's also a smaller hole. It's a pilot, and we want to make sure that we take our lag screw and center it on that pilot as we drive this screw in. Okay, so now our lag screws are about 75% in on the footboard. So I'm going to very carefully slide the bed away from the wall and try to keep my rails intact. So I need to get behind the headboard to put this together. So there are piloted holes on the ends of the side rails. Your lag screw should catch those piloted holes, and your rail should not split. Okay, so now I've got my socket wrench and my 9/16 deep socket, and I'm going to do the rest of this by hand. If you happen to have a high-powered 1/2-inch drill, you can screw these in entirely without having to go by hand. The one thing you want to be careful about is over-tightening. Once you see the side rail where it stops moving or it gets really snug, it tightens up and you get a lot of resistance, that's when you want to stop. Another thing you can do is just look inside the hole and make sure that the head of the lag screw is tight up against the washer. And I can see that it's not yet. And I can just start to feel that I'm getting some resistance, so I'm going to stop. On to the other side. Now we'll go ahead and tighten up the footboard as well. Okay, so now we're tight. So now I'm going to carefully slide the bed back up against the wall where I want it. So right now the bed is still really light and it's easy to move around. So the next step is to take our bed slats They all have a countersunk and a piloted end. We're going to come in about 3 or 4 inches from each end and then put one slat in approximately the center. Then we're going to go ahead and screw them in with the 2.5 inch screws. These are Phillips. Okay, so the next step, I'm going to take my plugs and I'm going to tap them in. So generally we don't put plugs in the back of the headboard. You can if you want, but it will pull the bed off the wall just a little bit if you want to do that. So the next step is to throw our foundation or our box spring and mattress on, and then the bed will be complete. And there we have it. There's our assembled timber frame bed, ready to sleep in.